new day is a blessing. Good things come to those who believe, better things come to those who are patient, and best things come to those who don't give up.
Popular culture is known more commonly as sets of practices, performances, artistic developments, objects, trends, popularized by dominant figures in industry or mass media.
The effects of popular culture can be felt in literature, language, media, and even in daily life.
Recently, there seem to be many women-centric discourses and visualizations.
Today's conference brings space to discuss this new wave of popular culture.
Honorable dignitaries, learned delegates, respected teachers, and dear students, we welcome you all to this magnificently glorious day.
We are immensely pleased to welcome you all for a one-day national conference on women across popular culture, jointly organized by the Department of English and Foreign Languages, Bharatiya University, and the Department of English, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women, in collaboration with Shamlax Publications.
Prayer does so many things. It heals, comforts, strengthens, and brings you faith. Let us begin today's auspicious event with the praise of the most merciful and the most benevolent. For that, we would like to call upon our students for the prayer song. We request all of you to raise from your places for a prayer song.
Thank you. Let us all unite and sing Tamil Thai Vaalthu. I request all of you to sing along with us. Thank you all. As quoted by Shakespeare, small cheer and great welcome makes a merry feast. We are glad to invite Dr. Anandi M., Professor and Head, Department of English, to welcome the gathering.
A very good morning to you all. most respected principal of the college, Dr. K. Chitra ma'am, chairperson of the conference, Dr. P. Nagaraj, professor and head, Department of English and Foreign Languages, Bharatiya University. Plenary speakers, Dr. V.K. Karthika, Assistant Professor of English and IIT Trichy, Dr. Mini Babu, Associate Professor of English, BJM Government College, Kollam, Ms. Saija Shankar, Assistant Professor of English, Stella Maris College, Chennai, session chairs, coordinators, faculty, student participants, and others from various institutions. On behalf of the Department of English of Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women, I am greatly honored to extend my warm notes of welcome to you all for this one-day national conference on women across popular culture. I place my foremost notes of gratitude to the esteemed management of the S.N.R. Sons Charitable Trust for their unwavering support in enabling us to conduct events catering to new perspectives and analytical thinking all throughout the year. I present my warm notes of welcome to our beloved principal, Dr. K. Chitra ma'am, an able leader and motivating factor whose systematic planning and meticulous work culture has truly brought the college up to the front and a leading institution for women's education in the city. I personally would like to thank and welcome ma'am for the full-fledged support and openness towards the Department of English, which has made us what we are today. Thank you ma'am and warm welcome. I extend my very warm notes of welcome to the chairperson of the conference, my beloved professor and head of the Department of English and Foreign Languages, Dr. P. Nagaraj. I deem it a great honor to introduce myself as his scholar and ward for my PhD. Under his excellent guidance, I was able to produce a highly commendable research study. His unfailing support and guidance did not stop after. He continues to mentor, for which I am forever grateful. Under Sir's able guidance, the Department of English and Foreign Languages has grown and spread its wings, scaling to new, greater heights. Our memorandum of understanding with the department will bring about newer and exceptional vistas for the betterment of students and faculty community as a whole. And this, the start of which is this national conference on women across popular culture. I thus deem it a great honor to welcome Sir and introduce this eminent personality to the audience. Sir holds a PhD in English with masters in an array of 4 different subjects in English language and literature, linguistics, English, mass communication and journalism with an MBA in HR. His career spanning 28 vibrant years include Assistant and Associate Professor of English in different colleges and as head of the department at SNMB College and as Assistant Professor of English at Bharatiya University, and currently he adorns the chair as Professor and Head of the Department of English and Foreign Languages, Bharatiya University. He has guided over 42 PhD research scholars and with 6 ongoing projects, and he has chaired various national and international conferences with several widely published Scopus and WOS articles in journals, including 12 books. So a great man does not need seek applause or praise. He seeks for the truth and he seeks the road to happiness, and what he ascertains, he definitely gives it back to others. Thank you so much for having inspired us endlessly, sir. We are indeed very much honored to have you here to convene and chair this national conference. Warm welcome. I extend a cordial welcome to the plenary speakers, Dr. V.K. Karthika, Assistant Professor of English, NIT Trichy, Dr. Mini Babu, Associate Professor of English, BJM Government College, Kollam, Kerala, and Ms. Saija Shankar, Assistant Professor of English, Stella Maris College. Their presence itself has added more vibrance to this event, and they have traveled from different parts of the country to be with us here today, for which we are immensely grateful. And I'm very sure that the discussions extended by them today, orienting towards the theme of the conference, will open new landscapes for research and study for the future. My respectful regards to Dr. Radhika Devi, Director of Women's Studies Center, Madurai Kamaraj University, and Ms. Bharati Anand, Chief Sub-Editor of the Hindu Tamil Thilai, for their valuable inputs and indelible support for organizing the conference. I also extend my gratitude to Shanlax Publications Madurai for their untiring effort to bring out the book on time, and we deem it a great privilege to collaborate with them every time. My respectful regards to the chairs of the parallel sessions, Dr. Karunambigai, Professor and Head of English, Dr. Bala Mayuranathan, Dr. Bala Murugan, Associate Professors, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi and Mr. Karthikeyan, Assistant Professors of the Department of English of Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science. I feel greatly honored to welcome the heads, faculty colleagues from from our institution and other prestigious institutions for having accepted our invitation and having turned up and have sent your scholars and students here today. My special notes of welcome to all the participants who are watching through live streaming today. My special notes of welcome also due to the under and postgraduate students, scholars and researchers from various institutions and colleges. I also extend my warm notes of welcome to my team of faculty colleagues from the Department of English, without whose untiring effort a conference of this dimension would not have been truly possible. I also mention and especially welcome the students and volunteer of the department who worked tirelessly for the conference in spite of their exams and busy schedules. Thank you, dears, and welcome you all. I now take this opportunity to introduce the theme of the conference to the august audience. So, women across popular culture, we deal with this every day because we live in a male-dominated field, and women feel the pressures of having to legitimate their positions. And women's representation in popular culture facilitates the ordinary stereotypical representation of a simple-minded, emotional, and a domesticated female. So this has perpetuated through various forms of media, including movies, cartoons, and televisions. So this has led to the theme of the conference and a very relevant question: are women truly liberated? So this conference definitely will address to the new dimensions, thriving research areas in women and gender studies, which, needless to say, is a very wide and red area in English literature as of now. To quote Maya Angelou, the activist and poet, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I will rise." Let this academic gathering awaken the strength in all women with a plentiful stream of reasoning, tuning with perfection, leading to true liberation. I welcome you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Flowers speak the language of love. We would like to present a bouquet as a symbol of deep respect to our esteemed dignitaries for their valuable presence. May I now invite Ms. Jemima Beatrice of 3rd BA English Literature, President, Literary and Fine Arts Association, to present a bouquet to our beloved Principal, Dr. K. Chitra.
Thank you. May I now invite Ms. Sri Aishwarya of 3rd BA English Literature, Vice Chairperson, Literary and Fine Arts Association, to present a bouquet to our esteemed Chairperson, Dr. P. Nagaraj.
Thank you. May I now invite Ms. Elizabeth Monica M. of 2nd BA English Literature, Secretary, Literary and Fine Arts Association, to present a bouquet to our plenary speaker, Dr. V.K. Karthika.
May I now invite Ms. Angelina Nair of 3rd BA English Literature, Sports Secretary, to present a bouquet to our plenary speaker, Dr. Mini Babu.
Thank you. May I now invite Ms. Aparna R. of 3rd BA English Literature, Cultural Secretary, to present a bouquet to our plenary speaker, Ms. Saija Shankar.
Thank you. Leaders don't say, they do what they say. We would like to invite the leading light of our institution, our beloved principal, Dr. K. Chitra, to deliver the presidential address.
Happy morning. Such a pleasure to be a part of this conference today and share the dais and to be in the same room where learned professors like Professor Nagaraj, Dr. Mini Babu, Dr. V.K. Karthika and Dr. Saija Shankar and all other learned and delegates from various other institutions and my beloved students are seated together. It's not that every day we get the opportunity to meet the students in the position of the head of the institutions. Only in the forum like this we can address, and I do not know, the attention span of students is 8 seconds. How many seconds of that I would be blessed to have, I do not know. Not an English literature person, I am a commerce and management person, and so women across popular culture I have researched, but it is beyond my understanding. So, but I would like to share my perspective as a person who has headed the Director of Management Studies for 10 years and as a person of commerce throughout my lifetime as 25 years. Certain perspective I would like to share, which is still relevant to the topic, but it throws with a different lens I had to look at it. Now, women constitute 49% of the India's population. But can you make a guess of what percentage of them are in the workforce? How many percentage of women are in the workforce? Can you make a guess? Just some number. Give me a number. 18. 33% of women are only participating in the workforce. Statistics says that if women across globe could equally participate without gender discrimination, the GDP of the globe, the entire world would increase by 26%. For those of you who do not know what is GDP, gross domestic product, that means the value of all the goods and services produced in a country. It determines the economic strength of a particular nation and the globe across. And in India, if women could participate equally, at least 20% more, and the GDP would be 9% above what it is presently now. So that shows that women are not participating in the workforce. Where are they? What are they doing? Are they in the silos of gender discrimination or whatever the media says? No, popularly in the movies and in the medias and the newspapers, we see women. In the movies, take for example, which is a popular medium. Women, until they get married, they are in their mother's place. They just relax themselves and then they go to work. But once they get married, what they do, they still work, at least some of the women. They will have to take care of all the chores at home, cook, take care of the elderly, put coffee, tea, everything in a flask, and then, just to stack it about, and then dress properly and run and put everything in the tiffin box for the kids. Then they will have to go for office by themselves, driving their own vehicle. Evening, then they will have to do perfectly well, and they get claps and applauses from all the people who are working in the office. Evening, they come home and they cook, they sit with the kids and do the homework, and then they take care of the elders at home. Is it even humanly possible? It's only a superwoman who can be giving 100% of themselves for everything. It's not humanly possible. For some women, yes, it may be possible, but 100% of yourself into every spheres of life, don't expect that you could contribute. You young women, after some years, you are going to be in the same rat race where you will be watching the movie, or your in-laws or your sisters or your mother would be watching the movie, and then they may say that this is how you will have to be after getting married. It's not humanly possible. What will happen to the quality of your life? You need to do still everything. But there has to be some help for you in terms of the people at home, support from the elders of the family, and some physical or other mundane support from other workforce is also required if you want to come up in life. So don't have that notion of gender stereotyping. This is how women have to be and this is how you'll have to be in future. That I think you should take it out of your mind. And women in India are supposed to be the people who are taking care of the children. They are the only people who will have to, childbearing, of course, yes, you do, but nowadays men are also doing that. But you will have to do the childbearing, fine, but who's supposed to bring up the child? Only the women. And they'll have to take down their jobs, they'll have to cut their jobs. Now, as a women's institution head, I see so many women taking maternity leave for more than 6 months and they don't return. Because their in-laws are sick yesterday, day before yesterday, some of the faculty couldn't return because their in-laws couldn't take care of the children. They cannot come, they'll have to take care. How many of their spouses are taking that, what caretaking leave is available in abroad? But in India, unfortunately, now only some IT companies are giving. So, what I'm trying to put up, coming back to the theme, is that across the world, whatever culture you call it is, women are gender stereotyping, and this role of women is defined. It's like this across the globe. To a greater or a certain extent, it might be more or less, but this is how it is. But statistics by International Labour Organization, they conducted a research study across 13,000 firms in 70 countries. They conducted a research study, and they found they have given a conclusion that If women are occupying the leadership position, the business performance could increase by 20%. So where is the women leadership? What percentage of women are leaders? At some stage of or other, you cannot keep talking about glass ceiling and gaslighting. Women, what percentage of women are CEOs? If you take up the top 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies, which is, just go and Google what is Fortune 500 companies, 4.9% of the women are only CEOs. And S&P companies, only 2% of women are the CEOs. And I don't blame only the gender discrimination for this. Lack of aspiration among women is a major lacuna. Because if a position is advertised in a paper, female who are applying for that position feel that they should have played multiple roles and they should fit more than the eligibility criteria which is given there, and if only they fit more than the eligibility criteria, they even apply. They are not confident. But if you look at the male members who are applying for the same job, again, this is not my whims and fantasies I'm telling. All what I speak is from the research studies, statistics. If you look at the male who are applying for the job, they would not fit the bill, but still they would apply. They have the confidence of applying. And particularly this is the case of women under 25. So you are under this age bracket, you are going to be in this age bracket. So no, this is what is happening in the real world. And again, women are more capable to perform as leaders. They are resilient. They are having the patience. They are having the emotional intelligence. But then, many of the women, again, there was a study conducted by Rockefeller Foundation, which states that many of the women CEOs did not themselves apply for the job and get it. They are identified as CEOs by some male colleagues, and then they were pushed to apply for the position of the CEOs. What is this if not women across the popular culture? This is what the practical aspect of it I would say. The literary perspective, of course, you would draw by discussing under various categories. Now, 20.6% of world's population between the age group of 50 to 29 is in India. That means 1 among every 5 younger generation in the age group of 15 to 29 is sitting here in India. So if you are not aware of all this gender discrimination, and many a times it is not the male who are dominating the female, it is the female who are pulling down the legs of the other female. That also you should be aware. So knowing this, why am I telling this is that when you come up in a position, when you are occupying a role, be supportive to your female colleagues. And also in a leadership role, there are a lot of discrimination. If a male is very assertive, if the male is very emotionally strong, he stands up and speaks, and he is goal-driven, he is appreciated as a masculine leader who is looking at things and achieving. But if the same thing is done by a female, goal-driven, emotionally very strong, and looking at always a self-driven person, she is not tolerated well by the colleagues even. She is talked about as bossy. Now, why am I telling about all these things is that you may sit in a position as a leader, or you may sit in as a position of a subordinate working for a leader. Please be aware of these things and be supportive to the women colleagues who are working with you to the maximum extent, extend a supportive hand. Right? These are some of the perspectives which I thought I would share with you as a person who have been occupying the role of some leadership position across the past 10 years and has been interacting with various industries also, and also a person from the commerce and the management background. A literary perspectives, I'm sure the speakers and others will share with you. I'm happy that this conference of this stature is organized. Dr. Anandi and the English department always go out of the way in identifying the speakers from reputed institutions. Today also I can see from the reputed institutions the speakers across, and a lot of papers, 156 papers have come, and it's a very well organized conference. My congratulations to Dr. Anandi and to the entire team for the well organized conference. At this juncture, I should also take the opportunity to thank Professor Nagaraj. Recently, we have inked an MOU with Bardiyar University Department of English, so to have an academic collaboration, and this is the first of its initiative. And we are very happy that Dr. Nagaraj has been instrumental and along with Dr. Anandi in making this event happen. Thank you very much, sir. Looking forward to many such collaborative initiative with you. And I wish all the delegates and participants and the speakers a very pleasant stay at Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women, and also great academic learning. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. We would like to invite one such teacher, Dr. P. Nagaraj, Professor and Head, Department of English and Foreign Language, Bardiyar University, to deliver the commendation address.
Happy morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I deem it a privilege and honor to be part of this initiative. At this stance, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Chitra ma'am, the principal of this prestigious institution, coming a long way to sign an MOU with the Bardiyar University. Hardly ever the post-pandemic context, initiatives of this particular nature had been dealt. But her move is very positive, and of her move, this conference is on the lifeline today. So really happy, madam, for being associated with the university. And as you said, we had formulated few objectives in the MOU being signed, and we see to that all the objectives being signed. Now we are gonna bring it to practice, not just in the paper, but then the practical sense as well, because man from the commerce and management discipline, and I assure you that we'll put into practice the objectives framed in the memorandum of agreement. I also acknowledge my scholar, Dr. Anandi here, when she approached me that she had a thought of collaboration. End of the day, when we collaborate, the initiative will be for the betterment of the student community. So in that stance, when we are into this profession and and large, when it reaches the learner, any thought process, I'm a personality, would always welcome, openness for any sort of learning, so in that way, when she wanted to collaborate, I said okay, and a formulation happened, and scientifically things are being evolved today. So with this few note, in the higher education system, particularly in the post-pandemic context, we are traveling towards a borderless experience, which the human experience had not ever in the evolution had experienced. So a newness of experience is the encounter in the higher education system right now. So breaking all this cult, breaking all these boundaries and the borderlessness is the reality. So such kind of a collaboration from any initiative, I'm open for, and we have amidst such prominent writers, authors, and speakers here. If you wish in future, any collaboration with the Department of English in my university, I welcome, and I see to that I use your resource in the coming days as well. So with this note, when openness is the reality, something newness is the reality, and the theme, women and the new culture, the perspective from the other sex. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a very poor reader of the other sex. The other text, I would say, my classification of the womanhood goes, in a very simplest and, a formalistic way by which, by two major guidelines and principles where, I look at from the traditional viewpoint as one sense and the modernity from the other sense. Like, only two broader classification, and I'm not gonna go in for more classification as how the other text would look in for. One is from the point of view of the traditional schools of thought, like a text is just a mere text governed by regulations, rules, governance, principles, and dogmas. And I think, it had its own richness, divinity, something, a worshipping nature. When a reader, when I look at a text from the traditional point of view is concerned, it had its own richness as a text. It cannot be denied, and though many of the movements would speak about the subjugation, all those stuff like then. But then from the traditional school of thought, having witnessed and experienced from my grandma and so on and so forth, like, I do still see something in a divinity of that particular cult. I think even in the liberalized world, that particular cult do still persist in our nerve and in blood. However, you modernized speak about. The second school of thought is the liberalized school of thought, like that how in spite of all the resource the text has in itself or herself, like it is wanted to be read by different perspectives. You bring in a module, you bring in a structure, you bring in a philosophical thought and whatnot. You want a text to be read by different schools of thought, and you say defining by a principle or guideline is not possible at all. So a different reading and different interpretations of a text is the call for by the modernity of the people who wanted to approach this particular text. But this being the thought process, like I as a common reader, a layman, not an expertise in reading text as text, like I would welcome, rather than talking about how is there a need for mending a wall, or need not an issue of mending a wall is not the requisite today to be discussed on, as rightly pointed out. There is a huge cry by both the text, this text and the other text. There is a huge cry, and I think with the liberalized movement there are some radicality of thought and revolutionary of approaches being called for, but I have my own limitations and standpoint when it comes to the matter of there's so much call for the revolutionary and radicality by which you see and foresee. As a common and a layman reader, I would give you a thought process rather than looking at oneself and the other self as a distinct entity. Why is that a forum of this particular nature? I would give a call for like you both the self come together, collaborate and cooperate and work together, because we all know for sure that the coming generation, the future generation is gonna be in your hands. So having the futuristic the vision of the world, like it is going to be governed and ruled by the womanhood. It is the hardest of the hardest reality of the truth that we have to accept and agree with. Having this futuristic vision of how the world is going to be largely by ideology wise and by population wise, it's going to be the governance of the womanhood. Having this thought process, I would say, like deliberation has to happen, wherein the one self becoming the other self becoming the other, should be the a thought process that has to be debated and deliberated on this particular forum, so that the community at large, we would come together and we see to that, the vision of future womanhood, will be in tune accordance to how it ought to be. There are limitations in the schools of thought, in the in the old school and in the modern school as well. Like where the thought is like women ought to be loved and had to be appreciated, whatever. But then I tell you that phenomenal approach and understanding has got its own limitations as well, when you see from the modernistic perspectives, by governance, all the stuff. But then giving space and energy, and there are a few hardest realities, truth that has to be also addressed from the womenhood, that there would not have been world wars, if women would have been given prominence, and there would have been more number of Buddhas if given a prominence, and there would have been great thinkers like Einstein, and scientific producers like Einstein and whoever, even to foresee in the liberated world, there are more number of even in the musical industry and artists, the prominence has been the other sex and not the womanhood is the reality that we have to take into consideration all this. And the cry is huge and large by both the text, and see to that. Let not be theoretical. I could see in the postmodern cult, we are so much so theoretical. And what happens, when I see from the point of view of theory, theories do not resolve or solve problem, rather it creates a number of problems as well. So keep aside theories as a background of literature. Don't bring the theoretical theoretical formulation of ideas to the forefront and advocate policies. Let that be the background, a rich resource, a rich literature, and with that background, you see to that how far that is gonna help the coming generations of learners, take forward by way of the practicality. The post cult addresses are something very distinct and new, and the newness calls for something when I say newness, it's a huge term I'm giving a call for. So the newness of approach, the newness of cult, which we are all wanna discuss on this a serious forum, is that calls for so much deliberations. So I wish all the paper presenters, I heard that there are n number of paper presenters, and you have a lovely speakers and authors here who had worked on different principles and ideologies related to how women should be and ought to be, and may not be, or should not be, as madam said, so the issues are issues and plenty in nature. More than deliberating, time has come that we see to that that things has to happen in a practical sense, rather than being discussed in the four walls. With this few note and a little of an understanding of the other self, I give space for all the speakers to speak and orient and reorient the younger learners. They are going to be the future. An insightful understanding might be different perspectives, a call for something new by the end of this day conferences. And I'm very positive. This is the first move. And I'm very positive that the Department of English and Foreign Language, Bharatiya University, and the Department of English, Ramakrishna Arts and Science Women's College, we gonna this is the first initiative, and we're gonna have so many parallel thought process on the pipeline, and I'm foreseeing that we will be into so many activities in future as well. And this being the beginning, I wish any conference, any seminars of this nature is going to be an ideology being shared in a very serious terms. Take things very serious, and we hope that all the ideologies that had discussed in this forum, bring into the practicality possible in liberating womanhood. Men gets liberated, and same way the other way around. So a call for the equal opportunity by both of them is a need reality of the present hour. So with this few note, I thank each and every members present over here, and wish and greet that this conference is gonna be again a milestone as far as the Department of English is concerned. Thank you, and thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. A book is a social network of your thoughts. We are happy and honored to present our conference proceedings published in the form of an ISBN book with Shanlax Publications. May I now invite the chairperson and convener of the conference, Dr. P. Nagaraj sir, to release the first copy. May I also request the plenary speakers, Dr. V.K. Karthika, Dr. Mini Babu, and Ms. Shaija Shankar to join us.
Thank you, dignitaries. The roots of all goodness lie in the soil of appreciation. Let the dignitaries carry with them the memories of today through these beautiful mementos. May I now invite our beloved principal, Dr. K. Chitra, to present a memento to Dr. P. Nagaraj, our chairperson and convener of the conference, as a token of love and appreciation.
Thank you. May I request Dr. P. Nagaraj, the chairperson and convener of the conference, to present a memento to Dr. V.K. Karthika as a token of love and appreciation.
Thank you, ma'am. May I request Dr. P. Nagaraj, the chairperson and convener of the conference, to present a memento to Dr. Mini Babu as a token of love and appreciation.
Thank you. May I request Dr. P. Nagaraj, the chairperson and convener of the conference, to present a memento to Ms. Shaija Shankar as a token of love and appreciation.
Thank you. May I now request our esteemed chairperson, Dr. P. Nagaraj, to present a token of love and honor to our beloved principal, Dr. K. Chitra.
Thank you, dignitaries. Gratitude sweetens even the smallest moments. We would like to invite Ms. Aparna Jit, Assistant Professor, Department of English of Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning to one and all. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has reached here to attend the conference. First and foremost, I would like to thank our management, SNR Sons Charitable Trust, for their continued support to all our endeavors. I want to thank our esteemed principal, Dr. K. Chitra, for delivering the presidential address and for being our guiding light. Thank you, ma'am. I thank Dr. P. Nagaraj, the chairperson and convener of the conference, for the very insightful words delivered through his commendation lecture. Your knowledge and experience have been invaluable. Thank you, sir. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Shanlax Publishers for their seamless efforts throughout the editing and publishing procedures of the ISBN book. I thank Dr. Anandi M., head of the department and convener of the conference, who has been encouraging and guiding us from the conceptualization stage of this conference. Thank you for all your efforts, ma'am. I offer my sincere gratitude to our plenary speakers, Dr. V.K. Karthika, Dr. Mini Babu, and Ms. Sayuja Shankar, who have taken time out of their busy schedules to deliver their lectures. Thank you all. We have been overwhelmed by the immense response from participants and presenters who were eager to attend the conference, either in person or online. I take this opportunity to thank all participants attending this inaugural session. I would also like to thank all our faculty colleagues and HODs from SRCW and other institutions, our students, non-teaching staff, and technical support team. Thank you. Last but not the least, I extend my thanks to our conference coordination team who have been working tirelessly for this event behind stage for the past few months. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all will have a very enlightening and academically fruitful day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, dignitaries and all. We now invite the dignitaries and participants to join us for tea. High tea will be served to the left of the seminar hall. Please refresh yourself. We request everyone to assemble back for the plenary session within 10 minutes. Sharply by 10:45.
welcome you all to the plenary session. I would like to invite Ms. Shruti P.S., Assistant Professor, Department of English, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, to introduce the plenary session.
A very good morning to one and all present here. Popular culture is a rich context for the study of gender and sexuality. We will have 3 plenary sessions today. Each plenary session will feature papers that explore different aspects of the role of women in popular culture, and will provide an opportunity for all the scholars, faculty and students to discuss and share their thoughts on women across popular culture. By bringing together a variety of perspectives of women, these sessions can help create a more comprehensive understanding of the issues affecting women and the ways in which they are represented in the culture. And we can gain a much deeper understanding of the ways in which they are perceived and how that affects their lives. We hope that this conference will provide a space for a productive and insightful discussion about the ways in which women are represented and the impact of these representations. For the first session, we have with us Dr. V.K. Karthika ma'am, Associate Professor of English in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at the National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli. She earned her master's degree in TESOL studies from the University of Leeds, England, United Kingdom, after a master's in English and Comparative Literature from the Pondicherry Central University. She worked in England as an ESOL instructor and assessor for ESOL examinations from 2009 to 2011 and conducted studies related to language acquisition, cultural adaptations, and professional needs of English instructors. During the 4 years ma'am spent in England as a student and as a teacher, she gained insights into the challenging encountered by language learners and the potential remedies that resolves them, and polished her understandings of a multicultural and multilingual learning teaching scenario. She obtained her doctorate in English language education from the English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. Her teaching philosophy is deeply rooted in her belief that education must be an agent of transformation by enabling its stakeholders to activate social and emotional learning, thus building a better humanity. She offers lectures and sessions on aviation English, translation and critical discourse analysis, public speaking. Her areas of interest are aviation English, sustainability and education, post-humanism and ELT, design thinking in ELT, learning strategies, translation studies. And ma'am have many publications to her credit and have been a resource person for many seminars and conferences across India. And we are glad to have you with us, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
The slide change. Oh, it's great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. It's been long after I stand in front of such a gathering. Thank you very much.
Do you want mouse?
I think I'll manage. This will move, right? Yeah. I'll be fine. Right. So let me thank Dr. Anandi for having me invited over, and she was so sure that I should attend this conference, and her love, affection, and that friendship that really made me plan my journey this way, and here I stand in front of you. And the time that is allotted to me is just 30 minutes. I thought that it's 1 hour. So I need to cut short and run you through what I have got to discuss. And I'm really glad that you've come up with such bright ideas, which I could see in the book that was handed over to us. Brilliant ideas. So I know that, I'm talking to a very switched on kind of audience. So this is my topic, engendering popular culture, recasting stereotypes, which I could see in some of your articles which are already published in the book. So there are three premises for my talk today. The first one is that benevolent sexism is employed by the popular culture, and this reinforces gender stereotypes, which is quite known. Only thing is that we need to understand a little more about benevolent sexism. What is that? Then there are counter discourses to gender stereotyping, but these counter discourses themselves subscribe to certain dominant ideology, which is always the order of the masculine, which is always the order of patriarchy. So that's my second premise. The third one is slightly interesting. I would like to place it within the nationalist discourse and see how women-centered myths are coming back. And this is some way redefining the modern woman in a sense. So these are the three major premises that I would like to discuss with you people. Let me see how we can run through this. So benevolent sexism as defined, you feel like you've heard it many times, or men here might have said this to your sisters or your mothers or the female folk in your premises, that I will help you. I can help you with that. It's okay, you don't have to do that. You're lifting something up and then you're being offered some kind of help. Or you're being protected. I'll come with you. Don't go all alone. Well, this is quite good to some extent. But there is a tendency in the society, there is a trend in the society to use this kind of offering help being perceived in a very different way, or employing it in a very different way, and that is called benevolent sexism. Everything is for your benefit. So we close the hostel at 9 o'clock. After 9 o'clock, nobody is supposed to enter the hostel, because if you roam around outside on your own, there is danger, right? And you will get examples from Nirbhaya, you will get examples from Disha, and you will get examples from so many people so many women who were brutally raped and killed because they wore so short a dress, or maybe they were outside with a boyfriend or a friend who is a boy in a bus, on a train, something like that. So this is benevolent sexism. I am being a sexist because I want you to be safeguarded, right? I hope the message is clear. And this is actually asserting the female's dependency on the male counterpart. So somewhere, subconsciously, psychologically, we consume this ideology of benevolent sexism, and we feel that, yes, I can have a helping hand. I have a shoulder to lean on. Valentine's Day has just passed, right? I don't know how many of you went and hugged the cows, but then you might have exchanged a lot of messages, all those lovely words, I am a heartbeat away and you are 2 heartbeats away, whatsoever kind of thing. But then that there were so many romantic versions of benevolent sexism happening. I'll give you some examples, not from Valentine's Day, but yes. So this entire thing, actually, this entire discourse of benevolent sexism posit women as objects or maybe subjects, in whichever way you want to perceive. If you want to look at the vulnerable status or the precarious life of women, you have to look at it from the subjective position that they are forced to be placed at, or they are forced into. And how do they get treated as objects? That is quite common. I'm not going to discuss how women are objectified, because you know that already. Through advertisements and through other things, women are seen as, just like how Kishwar Nahid said, I am not that woman on the poster who sells socks and shoes. So like that kind of an assertion we need to come up with. Now, self-objectification is a problem that is the direct result of benevolent sexism. This is what I would like to argue. We consume this ideology of benevolent sexism because, it's just like how Coleridge says, water, water everywhere. So you feel like it's everywhere and it's so common. So what? My brother is there. Everybody is protecting me. Yeah, Pida Rakshadi Kaumare. Who else? Bharta Rakshadi Yavane and Putro Rakshadi Vardhakye na Stri Swatantre Marhati. This is what Manu has said. So said Manu, so that's it. Have we gone far from there? You need to think whether we are at the Smriti times or have we progressed a bit more. Now, the men here might be thinking something. Rebecca West had said something. People call me a feminist whenever I express sentiments that differentiate me from a doormat or a prostitute. You look at the words, from a doormat or a prostitute. If I express that kind of a sentiment, some of you might have thought that she is a feminist from my previous statement. Some of you, I'm just giving it a wide guess. Okay, but are we all feminists? Are we qualified to be feminists? Or do we have to be a feminist to talk about our rights? High time to think. And this picture of Neelambari of Ramya Krishnan, who acted the role of Neelambari from a very popular Tamil movie, which is old to you, not so old for me, Padayappa, which is the title character itself is a masculine person, okay? And she is one counterpart for such masculine order of the society, and who is perceived by the director and by the audience as someone with mental aberration. So if you look at the song that Nityashree Mahadevan had sung, Minsarang Kanna, if you go through the lyrics, you can understand how nice a man he is and how wicked a woman she is, you know. You are the one who has to drink the milk that I have half drunk. How dare, you know, the entire Indian notion of femininity is being reconstructed and masculinity is being shattered. What nonsense. We keep on asking. That's why I put her picture there. A woman who asserts her identity is always a problematic construct in the Indian context. Women are expected to belong to the dominant discourses. So that's what I said. Somebody who is not belonging there, not showing that belongingness, she is perceived as someone with a bit of mental aberration. Mostly. You look at it closely, you will understand. Or you experiment with yourself. Now, what is the consequences of this benevolent sexism? The first one is self-surveillance. If you are not trained enough to theorize, Sir said about don't theorize too much, you have to think about the practical aspects of it. But a bit of theory is always required, you know. Always take it with a pinch of salt. You need to really look through it and look at how self-surveillance happen, you know. Everybody talks about it. Everybody says this. So if I don't belong, you become very conscious about your own being. You know, you become, just like how body shaming works. 3 people say that you are overweight, and then that's it. Then you immediately started thinking about something and you make changes to yourself. And every time you see somebody overweight, you think whether she is more, you know, than me. So I don't want to be using any kind of bad language, but then this is how things work. So benevolent sexism by saying that, you know, my concern. There were colleagues who told me that, you know, you're slightly on the, I said slightly on the what? Yeah, I understood what they said. But, I mean, you too understood. So, that is concern, you know. But that concern is none of their business. My body is my right. How I want to perceive myself is my right. If I want to reduce weight, that's up to me. That's not somebody from the society who has to benevolently decide whether I should fit like this. I should be looking good in a sari or looking good in a jeans. That's my choice, right? So, that endorsement may not happen to many of the women. We are not talking about 1 or 2 cases. We are not talking about Kartika, or we are not talking about somebody from you. We are talking about the women who are out there, you know, without borders, you know, just transcending all these boundaries, somewhere out there working. They're continuously being under this body surveillance that they execute because there is a dominant patriarchal benevolent sexism that is being practiced in the society. Now, patriarchy finds its way to psychologically and emotionally overpower the women folk. That's what I said. 100 times you hear it, and the next time nobody has to tell you this, but you subscribe to that. You yourself become, you know, a voluntary kind of sayer of these things, what you've been hearing so far. And the damage to dignity. Dignity and honor are abstract concepts. Family honor, family dishonor, all these things are abstract concepts. And how are you defining something as concrete as these words which hurt you to substantiate something, or to accommodate into this framework of dignity which is abstract? How can you explain dignity? When you explain it, it's different from what she explains. When somebody else from there explains, it's totally different from the men folk who are looking into the phones and being busy right now. So it totally changes, you know, every single time. Now you look at it. You must have been familiar with these two scenes, right? English Winglish, this movie is from. And is this enabling or enslaving? You need to really think about it. Both of them are helping the lady. So which one is an enabling factor? Which one is an enslaving factor? This is where the difference in benevolent sexism and the real humanitarian construct of helping somebody, whether that person belongs to a female gender or a male gender or a transgender, that doesn't really matter. It's a human being who is being helped. So you think about it, what Ajit does here or Amitabh Bachchan in the Hindi version does here, is that benevolent sexism? If you look at it closely, it is not. But in the second case, preventing her from talking, preventing her from expressing herself is benevolent sexism, because he is saying that my wife doesn't speak English, therefore let me talk for her. No. So this subtle difference is something that we need to find out from the social premises all the time. And asserting the agency of the man. This is a scene from the movie Astitwa, which is a very beautiful movie. If you watch Hindi films, you should watch it, where Tabu is playing the character of a, what you call as housewife, and how she is being ill-treated by her husband, and she never asserts her agency at all. And it's always the husband who decides the rules, always the husband who tells what to do and makes decision on behalf of her, as if she is not capable of making any decisions. And this is a scene from a very popular Malayalam movie which is called The Great Indian Kitchen. You might have watched it thanks to OTT platforms and multiple languages being so inclusive in our cultural thing. So the man wants an apology from the woman, and it's mandatory to satisfy the ego that the person has, and until and unless he gets an apology from her, their life cannot move on. So this agency, as a person who is a decision maker, as a person who is up there in the power ladder, in the hierarchy, is always present in different forms in the popular culture. Now, Foucault says that modern power is capillary. That means it's just like it flows. It flows everywhere. And masculinity is one such kind of power discourse. When we talk about masculinity, we are talking about the power challenges or the power discourses that are happening around. So now, it operates in the social body's lowest extremities in everyday social practices. That's where I would like to place this benevolent sexism there. It is very, very powerful. We get subjugated to it without even knowing that we are victims of that. So it's kind of a self-victimization that everybody goes through. And women's power is envisaged within their domestic contours. So there are the domestic boundaries that are set for women, and we are very powerful in that. And then you look at the advertisements for kitchen stuff. It's always the women who feature. And I remember how when I was a media studies student at Pondicherry Central University, we've got a picture of a washing machine, IBM or something, and in front of that a woman dressed up as very modern kind of a kind of an attire with a laptop in her hand at that point of time. I'm talking about back in 2008. So at that time, with a laptop in her hand, standing right there in front of the washing machine. Can you see the irony? I mean, why can't there be another person? Why can't there be a man? It has to be this modern woman who is working on the laptop, who has to stand next to the washing machine to advertise it. Can you see the bizarre aspect of it? And we subscribe to that. Now, male actors in advertisements of vehicles, you can't imagine. I mean, as people of my age would associate it. If it is thumbs up, then we think about Akshay Kumar. We don't think about Dimple Kapadia. We think about Akshay Kumar. And the vehicles that are very fast and Jeep-like ones, it's always men who drives it. It's not that women do not drive a bike. So these are the ways in which certain ideas are, just like pink for girls and blue for boys kind of thing works out. You must have read that interesting essay, Toys, by Roland Barthes. It's a very fantastic essay that you should read. You shouldn't miss it. Very simple, and how he theorizes it is really, really beautiful. So how these, even the concept of Barbie doll is very problematic if you look at it from a gender lens, I mean through a gender lens. Now this goes on, and humor is not naive many a time. We subscribe to the sexist humor. Women participate thus in their self-victimization, because we get a lot of, with WhatsApp and other social media platforms, we get so many memes and jokes on our phones every single day. And some of them make us feel like, yeah, it's a good one. We laugh at it. But by laughing at certain things, we are just victimizing ourselves into that dominance of patriarchal discourse. It has been argued that sexist humor is an example of symbolic violence. This is interesting. There are different types of violence: structural violence, direct violence, cultural violence. So sexist humor is one example of symbolic violence which can actually turn into direct violence. You rationalize it. You think about how, I won't name the institute, but 4 or 5 years ago, well before Corona, in the north, in one of the central institutes, one girl was brutally raped by her own classmates inside the classroom. And the reasons were, and they were actually describing the entire conversation about how they went through the process in their WhatsApp group. It was bizarre kind of a thing. It was really bizarre. I think it didn't go back to that time. It was in 2018. Still the traces are there on internet if you go and browse. It was a bizarre thing. How technology enabled them for another symbolic kind of murder or abuse. Even after the incident has happened, she is not free from it. She is just going through the trauma. But at the same time, again and again, a symbolic rape is happening. And then how that entire crime got manifested when the investigations went, the jokes. There was, there is no clear-cut evidence that the jokes were the reasons for the rape, but then there were so many catalysts which triggered this incident. So these are all, we can't say that all these small little things that we tell today, especially to the men folk here, I'm saying that what we discussed today is not insignificant, but I'm really glad that you people turned up to have a discourse like this. It's not silly, it's not simple. We won't move until and unless it happens to one of us or somebody close to us. Till then, it's Nirbhaya, it's Disha, it's somebody else, here or there. We hear it, and we are fascinated by the names, Katwa, or this or that. But how certain small little things trigger direct violence, and how symbolic violence is actually the basic platform from where the direct violence and cultural violence later gets triggered. Cultural violence even results in honor killing. Honor again is an abstract concept. So you need to read about the structure of violence. I forgot the theorist's name, but it's good to read that. Sexist humor generates and endorses stereotypes. I have already told you about it. Is Google male or female? Answer is female, because it doesn't let you finish a sentence before making a suggestion. Nice, no? You can have a good laugh at it. I can see a smiling face over there. So it doesn't make you finish a sentence, which means women are always overpowering when it comes to the linguistic discourse. You read about Judith Butler's linguistic precarity or linguistic vulnerability, you will understand how, how limited linguistic discourse space that women will have in certain aspects. As an airplane was about to crash, a female passenger jumps up frantically and announces, "If I'm going to die, I want to die feeling like a woman." She removes all her clothing and asks, "Is there someone on this plane who is man enough to make me feel like a woman?" It's a direct sexist kind of, favor that she is asking. A man stands up, removes his shirt and says, "Here, iron it." I don't know whether you catch the bizarre or the kind of trauma that is embedded in this context. To make a woman feel like a woman, she has to iron or wash that piece of cloth. And what she asks is entirely different. Right? So it's not just the gap that makes us feel like being threatened or being questioned. It's that entire linguistic discourse that is parsing so many different elements together, which are there in our cultural memory quite a lot. And how did we all understand it? We somewhere in our head consumed that, yes, ironing and washing clothes are women's jobs. Didn't we? Think about it. I mean, my teachers always used to say, think about it. Now, look at this. New seatbelt designs, 45% less car accidents. You know, you just can't control the laughter. Seriously, now you are all like with your muscles so stretched because this is a popular women in popular culture kind of conference, and she is talking against certain sexist ideology, so we are not supposed to laugh. But imagine in your privacy, if you get this job, you will laugh. Okay? And if you don't laugh and if you see problems there, then good enough. What are the stereotypes that are being generated? Can I invite some suggestions at least? At least one stereotype. Sorry? Men at the driver's seat. Men at the driver's seat. So it's always men who drive. And if there is a passenger seat, a woman is always be seated next to him. So only the passenger seat has the mouth tape, right? Or the belt. So that prevents her from talking. So what causes accidents? It's the women talking. And what kind of talking? Simply if a woman talks, then that cannot cause any accidents. So it should be the nagging kind of thing. You look at the word that I chose, nagging. How did it occur to me? I might have heard it elsewhere, which is part of my cultural identity. Because I'm not, even though I studied in England and worked there for some time, I'm still an Indian, right? So I have my Indian identity, I have my typical Kerala conservative kind of bringing up. All those things are there mapped in my cultural identity. Therefore, I understand that joke. Understanding that joke itself is making you vulnerable to the or precarious position that you assume within that particular dominant patriarchal masculine discourse. Just one more. This is very silly. You look at it. I have numerous memes to discuss, but then I'm limiting it only to two. Boy is asking, where are you going now? Girl, for suicide. Boy, then why so much makeup? Girl, you idiot, tomorrow my photo will come in the newspaper. I mean, just try to rationalize that. These jokes, how do they get generated? These memes, how do they get generated? So much of misogyny, how does it get generated? Because it's mapped in their brain that women put a lot of makeup. I'll give you an example. My students, once they were there, I use sustainable development goals in my classroom for English language teaching. So once I was taking up this gender question and I was discussing it with them, I said, I will write 2 words on the boards and you need to shout out loud whatever words come to your mind. So I said, girl, gold, gossip, and then, the rest of the things are really like bad. This is what came to their mind. Girls means gold and gossip. Is that the girl's identity? There might be girls who love gold. It's absolutely fine to love gold. It's absolutely okay to gossip. I heard men gossiping really bad. They have nothing else to do, but then, you ask your friends what do they do in the boys' hostel. Yeah. Now, stereotyping and the counter discourses, most of them, just take up this concept of sanitary napkin advertisements. These can be looked at as a revolutionary kind of thing because we watch them on TV with our fathers and with our brothers, with boyfriends or whoever around, and then this kind of an advertisement coming on screen is kind of, giving knowledge that there is a biological phenomenon like this for women, and they use this product when their monthly time comes. Absolutely okay. But is that a counter discourse actually? You look at the blue gel. that will be poured onto the napkin and seen. It's an evasive device. They can't even think about the red color. The color red itself has some stigma. Have you thought about it? It's very difficult, you know. I can see so many faces down because I'm talking about menstruation. So that's absolutely okay to be discussed in this hall. Portrayal of women as capable of, this is what Dr. Chitra in the morning had talked about it. We are not superhumans. We are all human beings. Men, women, all of us have things that are humanly possible and humanly impossible. Okay? So now, the women who have one particular type of the sanitary product can jump, can go for mountaineering, can hike, can do this. Oh my God, that is not the case. Some people can't even get up from the bed. That's the reality. Never the advertisements advertise that aspect of it, because that is not a selling point. The market philosophy is entirely different from the human life reality. There is a big gap between the philosophy of the market, how they perceive things, how they sell it is entirely different from the reality if you think about it. And you see that these are all. You look at the Tanishq advertisement. I had some videos, but I knew that it will be very difficult to showcase it to them. You would have understood it much better. There are 3 advertisements that I would like you to look at. One is the most controversial advertisement of Tanishq jewelry, where the father and the mother, persisting their daughter to get married. And she says that American return or wherever return, I don't care, I don't want to marry. And then they go to this Tanishq, jewelers, and then they put on the bridal jewelry on her, and she feels like she's so enchanted and all. And then all of a sudden, the mother says, oh, this is bridal jewelry. No, we don't want that, remove it. And then the girl is all ready for a wedding. Wow. Yeah, she asks, what's the name of the guy? Fantastic. So the mother says that 25 years, you don't even know your daughter's, you don't even know the women's mindset. So this was a very controversial advertisement. So what did Tanishq do? They had to counter it. They came up with an advertisement where a widow marriage was being showcased. And it was known as the most progressive ad of that time. And was it progressive? You go through the discourse. There is a little girl who is attending her mother's wedding, and when they were taking round and round around the fire, the sacred fire, sacred in quotes, the mother, the child wanted to go along with the new papa and mom. And then she says, no, shh, sit there, don't come. And then the father says, come. So who is the last, who is the person who gives the word or the verdict there? When they say that it is progressive. So these are the counter discourses that happen. Now, I'm really rushing through things. I don't know how many of you have watched this movie. I've recently written an article on this, Mothering and Othering. This is about a surrogate mother. I have, some of you have seen it. A very revolutionary kind of concept that Indian movie has never seen. Surrogates and fetus farming, a lot of very crucial issues, and connecting it with the cosmetics industry. It's a fabulous theme. But if you go through it, again, it's the re-endorsement of all that Yashoda Krishna myth. So mothers are being portrayed as people who are very much capable of saving and safeguarding and nurturing, and there are so many aspects which are related to it. This is yet another film which is a Bollywood movie. You can see that Madhuri Dixit is the heroine there, and the positioning of that poster itself is very important. Who is being foregrounded? It is this particular lady who is being foregrounded. You check all the photographs that you have at home. When you have a group photo, you will see the social consciousness working. It's not just the photographer's trick that always work. It's a lot of other things coming, especially when you do selfie. Yeah, you are standing in the front, but if you closely look at the cultural discourses of a selfie, I'm not talking like Chinta Jerome, but yes, if you look at it, you can clearly see that there are certain politics working. So here, everybody is so dependent on her, and this movie is called Majama. And this word Maja itself is very problematic for me. Why is she so much jovial? Because she is a woman who declares at a very, very vulnerable point that I hate men, I am a lesbian. And she has been happily, in quotes, married for 25 long years. Concealing her actual sexual identity. So the movie title itself is very problematic because the director does not address that issue. Just like how Hari and Harish do not address the problems with surrogacy in the Indian context in Yashoda. Just like that. So what you see as progressive things are actually reinforcement of stereotypes is my argument. Jai 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 Hey might be a slight different thing if you have watched that movie. Taapsee Pannu's movies, I have seen some of you have written about Thappad, might be slightly different. But if you look at it closely, there are still kind of cultural reinforcements of stereotyping that happen. So they are actually endorsing the ideals, beauty as a predictor of social value, which is very clearly visible by Varalakshmi Sharat Kumar's character in Yashoda. Then when one misnomer is challenged, another one is actually reinforced. This is what happens, just like the sanitary napkin advertisement. It advertises it, therefore there is some kind of an awareness about the phenomenon called periods or menstruation. But then at the same time there are certain other things. By using this, women are capable of doing anything. The blues are absent from there. Now motherhood, the epitomization of motherhood as a tool to frame impediments for a woman. I was telling somebody that I was the one who carried my 4 months old child to conferences like this because my husband was busy elsewhere, and I had to manage, I had to progress academically. So even at the month of even when she was just 4 months old, I used to carry her for conferences like this, make her sleep on 2 chairs, parallelly parked, and then come here and present the papers. People do that because there is a sheer lack of support system within the family, scenario, and also, as she said, women are more troubling than men in many contexts, at least when it comes to the workplace. So the glass ceilings are not always paved by men. Half of it is done by your colleagues, the crab mentality. How Shiv Khera talks about the crabs which never escape from the consignment that goes from India. Because one crab tries to escape, the other one pulls it down. So we shouldn't be crabs, that's the point. And good mother and bad mother, good woman and the bad woman. So the modern woman, in most of the old movies and novels and all, the modern women are wicked. They have all sorts of unwanted kind of stuff. But then the good mother is always, just like how Deepika Padukone says about Ik Chutki Sindoor and everything else in her premises. So that's how people get defined. And the idealization of Bharat Nari image. A woman who is clad in this particular manner or who has certain, they attribute certain physical and internal qualities to a woman's image, to a woman's image. I'm just going to conclude. Now, these idealization happen even through songs, and when you sing them over and over, it gets naturalized, it gets blotted into your brain. So this gender-based ideals are being created over and over, where there is a clear difference between appearance and actuality. There is a very stark difference, but you don't comprehend it, we don't comprehend it. Appear as privileged. The women in those narratives or those literature appear as very privileged, but actually precarious subjects. I'll show you how it is. I don't know if you can identify these song sequences. Not maybe somebody as old as me here or who watch Tamil films. The first one is a song which starts with Sangathil Padada Kavide Angathil Yar Thandadu. Just think about it. Very nice. Huh? What nonsense is that? You just think about it. You try to rationalize it. And then he goes singing Mai Konjam, Poi Konjam. Mai is Kajal, right? Yeah. So what? So a bit of kajal in your eyes and then a bit of lie. That is you. Fantastic. Yeah. So I put kajal, therefore I am expected to speak some lies as well. See, so these are the stereotyping that happens. The second one is another one, which is Kannukku Mai Alaga. You remember? you look at how that definition comes, kar kundal pennalaga. So what if people do not have, there are so many cancer patients, breast cancer patients, who have absolutely lost the hair. You just imagine them listening to the song. Have you ever thought about the precarious position of those women? Think about it. By choice, I can cut my hair off and then still enjoy this. But I had a friend who had to shave her head. She's no more. She had to shave her head, and we used to enjoy this song together. That's why it's something about her that I'm presenting here. How she used to feel when she listens to this. It doesn't mean that, people who create, whoever it is, have to think about all these things and learn all these theories and create lyrics. No, these are all creative processes. But there is something like inclusivity constraints. The last one might be familiar to you. Venmegam pennaga uruvanadu. Very nice, yeah? So what about the girls who are not so much like Venmegam? They don't exist. Think about it. So these are the things that we have running in our head, which generates, and with this I'm going to conclude, the womanhood and the notion of modernity. So I'm taking the theory of Partha Chatterjee, who talks about the spiritual domain and the materialist domain. So the materialist domain is what we are talking about, the popular culture and other aspects, where modernity is actually endorsed. We as Indians and within the nationalist discourse, we need modernity, because we can't be those old, we can't just be so proud about our old culture and remain like that. We need modern engines, modern type of facilities, this kind of mic, this kind of a laptop, these kind of centralized AC room, that kind of a camera, all sorts of modernity we need. But at the same time, internally, spiritually, we have to uphold the value. If you remember DDLJ, Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, there is a sequence of Kajal being found in the bed of Shah Rukh Khan. And then Hindustani Aurat Ki Izzat, my goodness. There was a big discourse about how Shah Rukh is so protective about the dignity of a Hindustani woman, of an Indian woman who lives in the UK. But then still, whether she is clad in her clothes which are very modern and she wears very short clothes, doesn't really matter. Internally, she's an Indian. She's a true Indian who believes in chastity, who believes in virginity, who believes in all such sorts of ideals. So that is the spiritual realm that Partha Chatterjee has been talking about. I just got it transferred to the filmic context. That's it. So within the spiritual realm is where we are subjected within the popular discourse, popular culture discourse. So it denotes the trend to preserve the Indian values, ideal kind of values, cultural specimens and everything, when we subscribe to the modern kind of ideas as well. So you eat KFC, but then you think about having a shower in the evening and going to the temple for puja. So, and there is a trend about vegetarianism coming up. And if I talk about it, it will be too much of nationalism, which I don't want to do. So there is a strife to protect this pristine kind of Indianness, or the Tamilness, or Malayaliness, or the Kannada essence. You think about it. We started with Tamil Thai Varthukal, and in the Tamil Nadu contest, you look at it. You had a chief minister who argued for that. The case of Tamil Thai movement, anti-Hindi movement, all those sorts of things. If you read your history, you had a rich cultural heritage. You go back to your Sangam or Porunara, Tripate. So whatever you go back to, you will get a lot of, cultural wealth, which you are supposed to protect. There are certain things that are talked about for us to belong to. So now, because of this discourse, there are certain myths coming back. So there is something very common for these three films. The second one and the third one are Malayalam films, which you might have watched. First one is very known, pan-Indian context, Roja. The second one is called Om Shanti Oshana. And the third one is Bangalore Days. These three films had something in common. It is a reworking of the Savitri myth. You know about Savitri myth? Satyavan and Savitri. Satyavan was taken away by Yama, and Savitri went all the way to the Yamaloka, gave half of her lifespan and brought her husband back. So that is the myth of Savitri. So this is actually a reworking of the Savitri myth, where the woman is so much powerful in her will to bring her husband back. It's just that the death has not taken them away, but from wherever they are, locked within the memory of a died beloved, one person, the other person never interested in her, whatsoever it is, they are being brought back by the chaste and by the persistent kind of womanhood that these three women characters are. Roja is very clear, right, how she goes without any language and fights with the President and Prime Minister of India. Those sequences are very powerful. Therefore, there has to be continuous efforts in deconstructing these ideals related to women, and breaking biases and dismantling stereotypes must be carried out continually, and discourses might be fostered within the classroom context as well as teachers, as students. Counter discourses must be critically analyzed, and these kind of conferences are really good for such kind of thought provocations, but it shouldn't stop here. You wrote a paper for that ISBN book, maybe for the ISBN number, I'm not sure about that, I'm not underestimating you, but that is just a starting point. From there you need to pitch it up, and then you need to write more, you need to talk about it more within your domestic context. Don't think that your mom will not understand. How many of these men and women might have gone to your mom and asked whether there were any times after you were like 16 or 17 that she felt bad? Just that question. Did you feel bad when something happened in the house? Have you ever asked that question? Phrase it in whatever different way. You will get a treasure mine, because she might be waiting for one single moment to explode. Sometimes they won't say anything, they'll conceal it. The ideal motherhood will operate there. But there are certain points where mothers or sisters will feel like, all the men here, go and talk to your sisters. Have you ever had a bad experience? Just talk about it, you will get. Or friend, talk about it, you will understand. These are all discourses where we are mitigating this gender gap. We are mitigating, or we are endorsing certain positive image for women. So that is how the practice bit begins. And writing is also a practice. You need to really understand that. And that's all from me today. Thank you very much.
The room is open for questions. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Yeah, I see. Either I'm very clear or you were sleeping. One of this is the case. Questions, comments, any thoughts? I think they are fine, they are clear. Thank you very much. I had a lovely audience. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was an interesting and insightful session, especially regarding the benevolent sexism. I also started thinking a lot about it. Definitely so much to think about it. All right, and we will move on to our next session without much delay. We have Ms. Artika from the Department of English, Assistant Professor, to introduce our next plenary speaker.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to everyone once again. It is my privilege to introduce the plenary speaker of today's one-day national conference, Dr. Mini Babu ma'am. She teaches English with the Department of Collegiate Education, Government of Kerala, and is now working at BJM Government College, Chavra, Kollam. She has 3 poetry collections, Kaleidoscope, Shorelines and Memory Cells. She has edited 2 collections of poems, Meraki and Glass Bangles. Her poems have been published extensively in journals and magazines in India and abroad. Her poems have been translated into Malayalam and Tamil. Her collection Shorelines has been translated as Ore Pagal in Malayalam. It is our pleasure to have you with us, ma'am. Now I request our plenary speaker, Dr. Mini Babu, ma'am, to take over the session. Thank you. Shall I teach?
Thank you very much. A very good morning. When your teacher, Dr. Anandi, invited me over here, without a second thought, I said yes. That was actually my love for Tamil. I just wanted to hear Tamil. Many of my poems, more than 30 poems have been translated into Tamil. And by the end of the session, I would like one of you to come up here and just read for me or recite for me in Tamil. I've brought some of the poems with me. Okay. Happy to see. Another thing, why I came here is that I always like talking to girls. I have been working in a women's college for half of my career. And after that, I think for the last 8 to 9 years, I'm working in a mixed college. So I like to talk to girls here, everywhere. One thing about girls is that they are silent. They may listen, or they seems to be listening. That is one thing. Taking cue from the previous presentation, just one point I like to say is that we are all unique. Every boy, every girl is beautiful. Just like our faces, our hands, our hair are all different. In the same way, we think things differently. No two people think alike. In that manner, we are all different. We have so different habits, liking habits, eating habits, thinking habits. So we must think that we are unique. All of us are beautiful. Every woman here is beautiful. The thing is that you must have confidence. You must talk to yourself. You must understand your beauty embedded in you. Okay. Another thing I want to tell you is that you have got an efficient principal and an efficient HOD. Principal who is so confident in her talk about being women is a great inspiration to you. Okay, we will come to the topic of our discussion. Let me ask you a question. Why do people write? We are simply coming to writing, popular literature, popular writing, which is a part of popular culture. Within popular culture, you have got popular literature. 90% of popular literature is fiction, isn't it? It is fiction. So 10% you have got poetry, cartoons, illustrations, graphic novels, etc. Why is literature actually necessary? Why do people write? Anyone? There are various reasons why people write, but one basic reason. Girls are always smarter than boys. Girls are very efficient also. All the class leaders everywhere are girls. Why do people write? Why do people write? Because nobody hears them. Because nobody listens to them. Isn't it? if we listen to people as much as they wanted to, there would have been very less literature. We listen to men little, and lesser do we listen to women. Just imagine you listening to your mother or your friend or somebody. You listen if the person tells you facts. Yes or no? Yes or no? What happens if the person goes on telling you imaginary things? Imagines and tells you. What will you think of that person? Crazy, insane. And you will try to move away from that person, isn't it? You get frightened. Anytime this person can burst out. But what happens when this person writes all this in literature? When everything is there in movies, in poetry, such a great imagination, such a unique way of thinking, isn't it? Isn't it? And we love it. And why do people read? There are writers and there are readers. Why do you read, or why do we read? Why do we read? We read because there is that much of insanity in us also. Isn't it? You read and you imagine in your own way, you diverge, you digress the whole tale in your own way. No two readers read a work of art in the same way. Yes or no? Why don't you answer, girls? This can be an interactive section. So coming to popular literature, there is a term in Malayalam, Janapriya. What is Janapriya? Janam, people. Priya, dear. Dear to people. Okay, so you have got Janapriya novel, Janapriya cinema, Janapriya kavida, Janapriya paata. That means something which the mass, everybody, the ordinary people like. Yes? That is popular literature. So when you translate Janapriya to popular, something is lost there. There is so much love in Janapriya, which is lost in popular literature. Janapriya Sahityam. Okay, that is a part of popular culture. So popular literature is that literature that is read by the mass, the ordinary people, the people like you and me. All of us, in a basic sense, we are ordinary. Only when we move into the academics, we pose to be geniuses and extraordinary. Basically, we are all ordinary. And what happens when you read, you recommend this text to your friends, you recommend it to your family, and everybody reads. Yes? That is popular literature. So what happens when everybody reads? Or sometimes there is a song or a fashion, a popular song, which is popular for a period of time, then vanishes. Isn't it? So we always say that because one text is popular, for example, Paulo Coelho, Chetan Bhagat, J.K. Rowling, Khaled Hosseini, etc., etc. Because that is popular, because that is read by everybody, the elite, the academic, the literary, the artistic, we do not read. Okay, so the opposite of popular literature is artistic literature, or literary literature, or heavy literature. Are you listening? So what is left out of the heavy literature is the popular literature. What remains, what collects at the bottom, which the layman reads, is popular literature. Okay? And they have been popular literature from time immemorial, but this term has been used only lately, I think in the 19th or 20th century. This term popular literature came into existence, and this branch of study is there in the academics, is of late. Okay, so one quality of popular literature can be equated with success, successful literature. If you narrow down a little, commercial success, that is popular literature. Because everybody reads, what happens? The academics disapproves it. Got it? Because everybody reads. And they also says that popular literature is ephemeral. What do you mean by ephemeral? What's the meaning? For the time being, notwithstanding the test of time. Something popular, a popular fashion is only for the time being. Yes? So popular literature is only for the time being. So is there a clear-cut distinction between artistic literature and popular literature? Is there? Is there a borderline? We had a pioneer of popular literature during his age, but now seen as an epitome of artistic literature. That is Shakespeare. Shakespeare, when he was alive, his works were considered as popular literature for the mass, for the ordinary, just for entertainment. Popular literature means for entertainment. What the ordinary people go to, view, read, or listen after their work, just to relax, just to escape. That is popular literature. And that was the dramas of Shakespeare. But what happened? What is Shakespeare now? The epitome of artistic literature, classical literature, isn't it? So is there a distinction between popular literature and artistic literature? Any time popular literature can turn into artistic literature. There isn't much distinction between them. Okay. Then, what are the other qualities of popular literature? Can anybody tell? If you are listening. Mass production is there. Now I was remembering a popular literature, popular poetry in Malayalam, Ramanan, Changampuda's Ramanan. Maybe you haven't heard about Changampuda Krishnapilla. Maybe some of you have heard. He has written a long poem, a pastoral elegy, commemorizing his friend, Ramanan. It was published in 1936. Okay. Long before my parents were born. In 1936. Okay. And the very next year or something, it went out of stock. It had run into numerous reprints, and now also it is running into reprints, and now also it is being translated. Now also it is read and appreciated. It's a popular poetry. It is said that it went out of stock at that particular point of time, that people used to borrow it. They used to borrow it from their friends for a night. And they cannot take photocopy. They cannot take printouts. So it is said that young women, they used to sit all night and copy it out in their notebook under the kerosene oil. So much was the popularity of a poem in Malayalam. Okay. Again, we have popular poets in Malayalam. We have Balamani Amma. Balamani Amma is Kamala Das's mother. She has written some of the best lullabies, which every mother till now sings to their children. That is one popular poetry. Again, we have got popular poetry by classical writers like Kumaranashan, Chandali Bhikshigi, Duravastha, etc. So there are popular poetry also. Okay, so from literature we are coming to popular poetry. Can you name some poets, popular poets? Not exactly women. Kamala Das. Which poem of Kamala Das do you like? My grandmother's house. Then, yeah, you're in Tamil Nadu. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Tamil poets. Okay, English poets. English poets. We have got Wordsworth. We have got Frost. We have got Poe, Edgar Allan Poe. We have got Pablo Neruda, Sylvia Plath, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so one quality of popular literature and popular poetry is that there are no abstract deliberation. Easy to understand, easy to read, easy to understand, easy to connect, easy to relate. But that doesn't mean that there isn't anything to read in between line. There is much, or there are much to read in between lines. But you can connect it with very easily. So popular culture, a part of popular culture is also popular literature. I wanted to stress on popular literature, on popular poetry, and also am I audible? Yes. And also women writers across popular culture. Okay. So if you take 50 men writers, how many women writers do you have? If you take maybe one, isn't it? If you take 100 men writers, among them you have one women writers. So over the past centuries, you only have a handful of women writers. That was the condition of women. And when women started writing also, they wrote under the false title, pseudonym, isn't it? They did not make their names evident. So over the centuries, if you name, we can start with, before that you have got Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, Charlotte Bronte, George Eliot, Mary Shelley. Very few, isn't it? Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson was a poet. She wrote up to how many poems? 1,400. 1,800. Okay, and only a handful was published during her lifetime. 13 or something. Just imagine the subjugation women underwent then. We are fortunate to be living in this century, isn't it? And you are more fortunate to be living in the coming decades, isn't it? Then we have got Virginia Woolf, the great writer. What is the speciality of Virginia Woolf? What did she say about women writers? What did she say? To become a women writer, what should you have? You cannot, women, we cannot easily become women writers. You cannot one fine day start writing. Nobody will agree with that. Your husband, your father, your mother, your society will not allow you. You have got certain stereotypical roles to perform, isn't it? However we talk against it, however we question it, still the society has not overcome that. So what has Virginia Woolf told? There are research scholars here. Yeah, a room of one's own. Women need money and a room of one's own. Do we have money? Do we have a room of our own? Even if we have money, do we have a study of our own? a study room of our own, a creative room of our own, a library of our own. The men in the family has got a study of their own, a library of their own. Nobody builds a library for the women first, isn't it? So if you have money, if you are comfortable, in your leisure, you can write literature, can write poetry. That's what Virginia Woolf told. Then you have got writers like Toni Morrison, Sylvia Plath. Again, you have got writers, contemporary writers like Maya Angelou, Adrienne Rich, Carol Ann Duffy, Anna Akhmatlova, etc., 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 etc. So can you tell me some of the themes in women's writing? Themes in women's writing. Yeah, they write for women, isn't it? They write against the subjugation of women. Does it happen consciously? Does any writing happen consciously? Is any conscious writing successful? Whatever themes portrayed in a woman's writing happens unconsciously. If a woman is talking against subjugation of women, it happens unconsciously. That is embedded in their psyche. Okay, then subjugation. What are the themes you find in women's literature? Anybody? Gender discrimination. Caste. Okay, caste discrimination. Objectification. I'm not getting that poem. I'm not that woman in that advertisement. Who has written that? I forgot the name. Kishwar Nahir. Yeah. I'm not that woman in that advertisement. I'm not that woman selling socks, isn't it? Okay, then after that, sacrifice, love, motherhood, all those things, suffering. But women also see relationships. Women write things which men cannot. Men can write things, okay? Men can write on certain areas, but women can write on all areas and everything that which men cannot. Are you refuting men over there? Women can write on anything because women sees relationships, but women see the immediate, the neighborhood, the next door person, the nature. Again, man-woman relationship, but with a different perspective. Okay. And I just wanted to introduce or talk to you about two popular writers of this contemporary world, whom I like very much. Mary Oliver. Have you heard about Mary Oliver? Mary Oliver, popular American poet. Naomi Shihab Ni, have you heard? No? Okay, then I'll read a poem from Mary Oliver. Please listen, okay? After that, go and Google on Mary Oliver. You can do her works for a project. Very good writer. I worried. It's the title of the poem. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am well hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up, and took my whole body and went out into the morning and sang. You heard this poem? So, this is a very popular poem by Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow? Will the earth turn? Will I be able to sing? Even the sparrows sing. Is my eyesight fading? Am I going to have dementia? Jaw claw? And finally she says that I keep on worrying, and I came to understand that worrying had come to nothing. So I gave it up. I took my old body and went out into the morning and sang. She's teaching us a wonderful lesson, isn't it? What is the lesson you learned from that? What is the lesson you get from that? Nothing happened. This is not only Mary Oliver, this is you and me. We worry a lot. We worry about so many unwanted things. And nothing happens with worrying. She started worrying with serious things. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow? Will the earth turn? Then came to the specific, then came to the subjective, then came to herself. Even the sparrows sing, but I cannot sing. Am I going to have dementia, jaw claw, etc., etc.? And then she says that this is the things which is happening with the world. So she took herself to nature. It's a sort of escapism. She goes back to nature, escapes to nature. So Mary Oliver was a poet who always escaped to nature. She went into the woods. It is said that she built a hut for herself from the twigs and branches and settled there and wrote poetry. Okay, I just wanted to introduce Mary Oliver to you, and also another poet, Naomi Shihab Nye. Have you heard about her? Yes? She's also a popular American poet. She writes about cultural differences, her cultural experience, because her father is a Palestinian and her mother is an American Jew. And all these women, they write about ordinary things. Fresh perspective. They give a fresh perspective on ordinary things. So I'll read one more poem by Naomi Shihab Nye, Kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the windows forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in the white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing inside. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes you sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. Only women can write such poetry, isn't it? So this is what she has written on kindness. So I just want to introduce popular women writers, popular women who write poetry. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you very much. I want one of you to come out and read this poem in Tamil. Who will come and do it? This is a request from a person who doesn't even know an alphabet of Tamil. So, yeah, I'm very happy. This is one poem. Anything can happen in love. Is that what is written?
எதுவும் நடக்கலாம் எப்போதென்றால் எதுவும் நடக்கலாம் காதல் வசப்படும் போது ஒரு உணவகத்திற்குள் சென்று உண்பதற்கு வானவில்கள் கேட்கலாம் அருந்துவதற்கு மேகங்களையும் கொறிப்பதற்கு விண்மீன்களையும் கூட கேட்கலாம் ஏனென்றால் காதல் வசப்படும் போது எதுவும் நடக்கலாம் அத்துடன் நீங்கள் எவருடைய மேஜையிலும் அமர்ந்து முடியவே முடியாததை கேட்கலாம் வானவில்களை உண்பதும் மேகங்களை பருகுவதும் விண்மீன்களை கொறிப்பதும் காதலில் இருப்பதற்கான மிச்ச சொச்சங்கள்.
You read?
Yeah. Anything can happen when love you can go into a eatery and
I'll read.
okay.
No, the sentences are getting.
Okay.
The same thing, the translation. Wait. What she read in Tamil, I am reading in English. Anything can happen when in love. You can go into an eatery and ask for rainbows to eat. You can even ask for clouds to drink and stars to snack. For anything can happen in love. And you can sit at anybody's table and ask for the impossible. Eating rainbows, drinking clouds, snacking on stars are some of the few remnants in love. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for the informative session. And the forum is now open for questions.
Yeah. I forgot that you have questions. I have been asking so many questions and you did not answer. So you are going to ask and don't expect me to answer. It was wonderful talking to girls. Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. That was really helpful, informative, and we learned a lot. And I have a question, ma'am. Do you think the artistic writing of how Shakespeare is artistic writing, classical now, but can today's popular writing become artistic in the future?
It can happen, but we have one artistic, at the same time, popular work, Wasteland, isn't it? The Wasteland, but it still remains in the academics.
Yes, ma'am.
The ordinary people doesn't know about Wasteland and they cannot appreciate Wasteland also. It is heavy reading. It is heavy reading even for us, isn't it? But in course of time, we have a popular writer, Louis Clerc, getting the Nobel Prize.
Do you think it's because of the mindset of the people it has become it's not popular?
Yes. You cannot distinguish between what is literary writing and popular writing as such. Very thin separation is there. Who determines all this? Just because everybody reads, can we say that we cannot approve it? Can we disapprove it? Isn't it enhancing to understand that everybody appreciates a work of art? Isn't that the success of the writer?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Now I invite Ms. Shruti P.S., Assistant Professor, to introduce the plenary speaker.
Morning all. So for the final plenary session, we have with us Ms. Sayujya Shankar. Assistant Professor, Department of English, Stella Maris College. Ms. Sayuja Shankar has a work experience of over 10 years both in schools and colleges, and ma'am is pursuing her PhD at Stella Maris College. Sayuja ma'am have completed her MPhil and Masters from University of Hyderabad and completed her Bachelor's at Madras Christian College. Areas of interest are creative writing, speculative fiction, mysticism, gender studies, Shakespeare, and ma'am also have many publications to her credit. Ma'am have worked as a resource person at many events, including a national webinar at Prajyoti Niketan College, Pudukkad, has taken orientation for postgraduate students in English at Queen Mary's College, and delivered a lecture on new vistas for research in cultural studies, post-colonial studies, and translation studies. Ms. Ayuja has also taken a workshop on creative writing at Itaraj College for Women, creative writing workshops at various other colleges. We are very happy to have you here with us, ma'am. Over to you.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon. I thought I'd do this differently, so I started with something, but let's... Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to give me a shout out, okay? So I'm basically looking at celebrities, female actors, not male actors, and the Indian industry. Okay, so I'm going to read out a name, and I want you to shout out if you like that actor, right? Okay? So the first one's Nayanthara. Super. Rashmika? Okay. Sai Pallavi? Wow, super. Trisha? Oh, nice. Aishwarya Rajesh? Not so much. Who's next? Anushka Shetty? Nice. Manju Warrior? Okay. Samantha? Okay. I'm not getting the guys participating. I don't know why. Okay. Deepika Padukone? Okay. Priyanka? Not so much. Katrina Kaif? No. Alia Bhatt? Okay. Kareena Kapoor? No. Anushka Sharma? Jyotika? And Nazaria? Super. Okay, so so this was actually something I did. Okay, I'll tell you what I wanted to do. I wanted to look at interviews and speeches that female actors have done, and I wanted to see how women are perceived and how they portray certain issues and certain discussions. And I think this might take off from what we had Kartika ma'am talking about in the first session. I hope so, at least. So this was, I got most people for Samantha and Sai Pallavi. I did this amongst my college students, but here I heard a louder shout out for others. Okay. So now, just a raise of hands. We've been talking about women actors. So do you watch the interviews and speeches given by female actors? Yes. Okay. And do you follow their endorsements, that is their charity work, so not advertisements, the other work that they do? Not so much, right? Yeah, okay, I'm just going to push that chair back because I'm not able to see it. Just give me a minute. That's it. Right. So most people don't follow the endorsements or the work that celebrities seem to be doing, but they do watch the interviews and speeches of celebrities, and in this case specifically female actors. I asked my students why they like these women as actors, and these were some of the options I gave, but there were other options that people responded to. Most people seemed to say that they like the female actors for their personality, right? The energy that they carry, the way they speak and appear in off-screen events, all of that. And then based on the roles that they choose in movies. So now we've been seeing quite a few strong women-centric movies. Some of them are problematic, like ma'am was saying, Yashoda is a problematic movie. We do see some problematic movies, but at the same time, we're seeing a strong woman lead, right? And that is something that many young women like you seem to, opt for. And then based on how they could choose, multiple responses. So mostly these are the things that my students, who are all women, chose. But this is something I would like to do, amongst all genders, though I didn't have the time to do that. Would you watch a movie of a female actor even if you hear poor reviews about it? So you chose women you like. Will you watch their movie even if you hear, oh, it's not a great movie? Would you still watch it? Okay. Has a female lead inspired you more than a male lead? Okay. So these were some of the questions that I asked them. I'm not going to go into too much detail. But yeah, do you think female actors should speak up on social issues? Yes? No? Only a handful of yeses. Surprising. Okay? But according to you, is there a difference in the way questions that interviewers ask to male and female actors? Is there a difference? Okay, can you give me some examples of how? Women are asked way more personal questions, but so at the same time, I want to point out what kind of personal questions get asked. Like ma'am was talking about menstruation. Nobody asks a female actor about how tough it is to go act on her period. That has never been, I don't think it's ever been asked, right? So only certain personal questions, the gossip questions of, oh, divorce, relationships, those are the kind of questions that are asked. Also, you'll see it's like a very interesting thing. You'll see some, many female actors are asked questions. There's this actual thing that happens, right? What's in your bag, right? I mean, come on. And then they ask questions about male actors. How did you find it acting with a male actor? Right? They never ask that question to a male actor. Right. So, what according to you are some of the things that most female actors talk about in interviews? And what do you think they should talk about in interviews? So what kind of interview questions would you like to hear about? Most people actually said, we do want to hear women talking much more on social and political issues. Some said we would like to hear about them talking about their style, fashion, and then fewer people said issues related to, to the body, like talking about issues like weight, age, all of these, like discussing it as an issue, problematizing it, and then quite a few said that they don't watch interviews. So this was a sort of small thing that I did, and I think it will introduce us to the topic that I'm looking at, which is women actors in India and their off-screen presence. So one thing that happens very often is, okay, do we agree that celebrities, not just actors, but celebrities in general, are very important because they mirror or they provide a certain standard to which society lives up to. So we end up following or buying into a lot of things that celebrities talk about, right? And so because of that, celebrities are very, very important. Now, celebrities form a part of what is called culture studies. Have any of you discussed culture studies? What is culture studies? Anyone? So culture studies is a field where now, we say move beyond literature. It's not just about books and poetry and drama. It's also about movies, songs, right? Rap artists, singers. We're looking at a whole lot of things. So one of those things is looking at actors, male, female actors. Now, when we're looking at them, very often we analyze them based on their movies, based on the advertisements that they're part of. So those are some of the things that ma'am was talking about in the first session, right? But also, I think we should look at interviews. Now, while doing this, this is a part of another small sub-part of culture studies called celebrity studies. Celebrity studies is not at all a big thing in India, right? It's not even caught up in India. But in the West, it's a huge deal. People talk about the way audiences respond to actors. They talk about how, their celebrity endorsements. They talk about their interviews. All of this is a huge field in the West. Not so much in India, and I think it's something we should start discussing over here. And so we should ask, what are some of the dynamics in society that we can understand through cultural platforms? So when we're looking at celebrities, how many of you think that celebrities have a responsibility towards society? Okay, not so many people, surprising. Are celebrities part of such forms of culture? When we're studying culture, should we analyze celebrities? I think so. Do we need to study celebrities, not just movies, not just advertisements, because that's a whole process, right? You have a director, you have a producer, you have the camera, you have the way they are portrayed in these things. But when we're looking at celebrities, look at their lives, look at the way they talk in interviews, the way they present themselves. They come in, a very simple example, right? If you see Vijay and Rashmika coming for an interview, Vijay will be in a simple jeans pant and t-shirt, but Rashmika will be in a very fancy clothes. And that's true. Even now over here, you'll see all of us choose, within quotes, choosing to wear a sari or a slightly fancy salwar because that is the protocol. But most men, when they come, are okay with coming in jeans and t-shirt, right? So it is important to study the way celebrities behave, appear off stage, off screen. So celebrities influence public discourses, and so we analyze celebrities through all these things. One other way, of course, now, because we have social media handles like Twitter and Instagram and all of these, we can actually respond or comment on an actor's, whatever they've said or done. Okay. At the same time, now when we're looking at celebrity work, we're looking at their philanthropy, the extra work that they do. This is not just, them doing work that they love. It is also work that is part of a larger commercial interest, right? They do charity work, they do certain kinds of things in order to create a certain image of them, right? And so one example of that would be, so very recently, the footballer Ronaldo, he chose, a water bottle over Coca-Cola, right? Now, this is seen as going against, Coca-Cola. But that doesn't mean, it also gives him a certain image, right? So it's also done within a certain framework or a certain way in which celebrities are seen. Okay, so when we are looking at female actors, and I didn't have time to look at North India, so I chose mostly actors from the South Indian industries. we look at different issues that are discussed. One of the things when we're looking at social issues, now ma'am was talking about the movie Yashoda. She was talking about how it portrays many other things, one of which is surrogacy. It's not discussed in too much detail, but the act of being a surrogate mother, right? Choosing to bear the child for another couple and give away that child is one aspect that you see in this movie, Yashoda. Now, so this movie is part of a set of movies that have come up called the Shiro movie, right? What is a Shiro movie? Is it just female lead? Female lead is one and very often has an action element, right? So when we look at the surrogacy issue in Yashoda, there was an interview which Samantha did, and she was asked, what is your take on surrogacy? Especially because other women in the industry have taken surrogate children, right? Now, she said, I can't be judgmental. But we know that the issue of surrogacy in India, in the country, is a very problematic issue, right? It's because a lot of women are taken from poorer places, and you'll see this in Yashoda. In the movie, you'll see that they're not an extremely rich family, and they do it for money, right? It's not a very convenient thing. It takes a lot of toll on the physical being, on the mental being. All of this becomes a huge, a thing that has to be discussed. But Samantha doesn't even once say it. So we know that there's a restriction that women have when it comes to the industry to talk about certain social or political issues. The next thing is Shiros. Now, how many of you are okay with this word Shiro? It is it's hero with the S to make it feminine. But the word hero itself is not a gendered word. Actually, in its origin, it's not he plus ro, no. It's a neutral term. But now we've added the letter S to make it a feminine thing. Now you'll see that this is a problematic thing because there is a difference between looking at a male hero and a female hero. Why? Because the normal hero is the male or female? The male hero, right? So that's why you'll see words like lady superstar. What is lady superstar? Has anyone called male superstar or man superstar? No, right? Similarly, female author, female writer. Why do we have to add that extra word, right? Because you're distinguishing them as other than, apart from the male or from the man. That distinction happens. So there is a discussion that the Shiro is often either eroticized, exoticized. So you'll see her in, like these Batwoman, these tight superhero clothes that show the figure, or they are masculinized. They are made to be exactly like men. Okay, so this correlation you will see in the Shiros. Also, in the interviews, you'll find the way questions are asked to women and to men are very different. For example, Samantha, when she acted in Yashoda, she was asked, "Oh, adicha valichirkonla?" Has anyone asked that to Vijay or Ajit? Adicha valichirkonla ungalku? Has anyone asked that? No, right? Because there is a belief that women can't take a punch, right? And she says, "Ama." And then the interviewer asks her, then it would have given you a lot of respect for the male actors, right? Why? Why is it that you never ask that for the male actors, right? So there is a very clear sexism in the industry. The next thing that you see, Trisha actually said this, there are no women multi-starrers, very few. Maybe Magalir Mattum, both the old and the new one, Kandukondin have 2, 3, but you'll see such massive male multi-starrers with 4, 5 actors in the industry. You'll see that in movies. Okay, so she says, I never actually get to talk to other female actors, right? And that's a huge problem. And if they do in movies, they're often portrayed as love conflicts, right? Does the man like this lady or does the man like that lady? That's how the conflict is portrayed. So she brings that issue up slightly. She just mentions it in passing because women in interviews can rarely discuss and debate these issues. If a woman talks about the sexism in the industry, she'll be thrown out of the industry. We know how many times that's happened. So also the screen space and off-screen space. Now, when Rashmika acted in Varisu and she came for interviews, the only thing people would ask her is, how was it acting with Vijay sir? Talk about Vijay sir. Tell us about Vijay sir. But nobody asked her about her acting, her process, her, so very often she is sidelined because obviously, okay, Vijay is he's had the time in the industry, but this will also happen if it is any other woman, right? Between the female and the male lead, it's always the male lead who's been given importance in interviews, in speeches. The next thing, the way in which names are given, which I just spoke about, things like Tala, Talapati, all of these are grand titles, while Rashmika is, right? Okay, so, and then of course you have things like, oh, she cried on screen, look at her crying, and then there'll be 3 different angles showing the actress, off screen, okay, in an interview who is crying. Crying is seen as such a, look at her, showing her emotions on screen. Why is that even something to be discussed or portrayed in interviews, right? But you will see that. Okay. So the choice or the agency that a woman has when she is in the industry is very, very limited. There is a lot of backstage sexism that we will never be able to see. There is actually a lot of on-stage sexism. So an example of this is when Trisha, for the Ponniyin Selvan 1 interview, the cast was sitting there, Jayam Ravi, Trisha, Vikram, all of them were there. They were talking about exercising. And Trisha is a fitness freak. She likes fitness. We've seen that in past interviews and in her, when she's spoken about it. But Jayam Ravi says, she's catwalking on the treadmill. Right? So dismissing the fitness of Trisha. Okay, so the way women are portrayed is also very often dismissed. So the choice or the agency that an actress has, and people like Nayanthara, Samantha and all can choose Shiro roles because they've spent some time in the industry, they've done some really terrible roles, and then they have gotten a chance to do female-centric movies. Have we ever seen a new, young, maybe very rarely, I can't think of anything, young, new actors, female actors in the field doing a Shiro movie? Can we see that? Any examples? I mean, if you have... so it also depends on the industry, right? Like I'm looking mainly at Tamil, but Malayalam might have 1 or 2. If you've seen anything, I'm not sure. Anything? She's a new actor? She's not, right? Okay. So the next one, how somebody joins the industry. So many of you gave a shout out to Sai Pallavi, and it's really nice to see. But the way Sai Pallavi joined the industry was through her dance. Somebody noticed her and they wanted her to act. So she got to choose. She said, I will not use beauty products. Right? She had a battle at home. But when it came to the public persona, she said, I will have the pimples showing. I can't do anything about it. And they had to be okay with it, right? So the way she came into the industry was also slightly different. So the body of the female actor is something that is seen as a space of control. It is also a display of culture. So like I said, the attire that a male actor wears and the attire that a female actor wears will be very different. The way they speak, the way they respond to questions will be very different. All of these are a form of culture. We should start questioning these. We should start analyzing these, right? These are problematic spaces. So the physical bodies of female actors are spaces of social inscriptions. So when I say women don't have so much agency, they don't have so much choice, it's because of this social inscription. Okay. And so we have to start looking at interviews. Now, I just gave a very quick introduction to interviews. I've mostly looked at how women speak in these interviews, but there's a lot more to it, right? Like, for example, where is the interview taking place? Who is doing the interview? Now, sometimes you'll have an interview where it's only the interviewer and the actor. Sometimes it'll be a huge mass gathering and then you're asking questions in front of the crowd. So I actually saw one interviewer asking Rashmika, she said, right? And Rashmika looked so uncomfortable with that question. You're pointing out a man who is responding inappropriately to an actor on stage, right? She looked so uncomfortable, but the interviewer pointed it out. Right? So it depends on the way the interview is taking place, where the interview is taking place. The South Indian and North Indian industries are very, very different, right? So you have to look at them in different ways. So, for example, if you're looking at an interview done in North India for South Indian actors, one, there is a we know nothing about your culture, explain it to us, you know, a sort of demeaning, putting them down kind of attitude that happens, right? There is a very different industry and a different way of thinking when it comes to Bollywood looking at South Indian actors. So that also we have to think about. Then we also know that some actors know the questions beforehand. They'll give you the questions, you go through it, and I choose to answer this or I will ignore it. So I will prepare my answer. Right? So like this coffee with Karan, all of these are prepared questions. So they'll pretend to act surprised, but that is pretense, right? So do they know the questions beforehand or not? Then, how do women and men attend interviews, right? So that is another question that you should ask. What kind of questions does an interviewer ask? So, like, an interviewer should also be sensitive, right? Like, interviewers will often ask, everybody is asking you, when is the good news? Or, you know, this is on stage, on screen. You're asking women about whether they're getting married or whether they're going to get kids. Okay, and then you'll have people like Trisha who will say, oh, I don't believe in divorce. Now, Trisha is, so there are two ways of looking at this, right? So she is a celebrity and she has whatever her personal choice or decision. But what she's saying influences so many other women. Imagine the number of women who are going through really terrible marriages, who need a divorce, who need to leave that family. But someone like Trisha saying, oh, I don't believe in divorce. Now, it affects the way society, now I'm not saying one individual person, but society gets influenced by these celebrities. And it becomes a very problematic thing when someone says that, right? On the other hand, when an interviewer will ask some really silly questions like, do you like men with beards or men without beards? That's a ridiculous question, right? And it's a personal choice that you should not have to discuss on stage. But oh, the Tamil masculine identity is men with. So the women are often saying on stage, I prefer men with beards. Do you like pasta or biryani? The women have to say. there is a forced response that comes out over there. These are personal choices that should not be asked on a public platform, right? And they should remain as personal choices. But you are compelled to say certain things because it gives you a certain image. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we should start analyzing when we're looking at interviews and speeches. Okay, so yeah, just going back to the interview questions that I did in the beginning, these were some really random questions that I asked to a set of, 17 to 19-year-olds, more or less your age, in my college back in Chennai, and about 79 students responded. So the results were based on that. I'm sure if you do a much larger sample, and definitely if you ask men these same questions, the responses would be very, very different. That's pretty much it about celebrities and celebrity interviews. First of all, we rarely analyze the industry of acting, even though it plays such a huge role. We pretty much, idolize, like deify, make them gods. Actors are almost like gods, right? Like you'll see before a movie, people will break a coconut in front of Pillayar. There's this massive thing that's happening, but we never ask questions about it, right? And definitely not on the off-screen space. So that is something I thought maybe we should talk about. I have shared some of my references. So these are YouTube videos that I looked up for the interviews. I didn't have time to play clippings. I really wanted to, but I knew I was short for time. And these are some of the texts that I referred to. I can pass it on if any of you are interested. I guess you have the PPT, so you can share it with everyone if they want to look at it. That's about it. Thank you. Any questions? Or any responses, anything that suddenly hit you when I was saying, I might not have covered everything. So if there's something that struck you that you want to add, now is the time. I'm sure others will also be excited to hear it. Okay, so I know there's a set of people who are sort of sidelined over here. I would like to know the young men's responses to these. One or two, any response. Have you ever thought about actors like this? Yes or no? Okay, I don't want to put you on the spotlight. Thank you all very much. Any other questions? Okay. If you have anything to ask outside, feel free to ask me. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With that, I request all of you to stay back for another 2 minutes before leaving. With that, we have come to the end of the plenary sessions. Just like ma'am mentioned, you can feel free to maybe go and talk to the speakers as well if you have something more to add. I request Ms. Artika ma'am to deliver the vote of thanks for the plenary sessions.
Good afternoon all. It gives me an immense pleasure to express my gratitude to all esteemed delegates of the one-day National Conference on Women Across Popular Culture for their presence and contribution to make this conference a great success. I want to express my sincere gratitude to our plenary speakers, Dr. V.K. Karthika, Assistant Professor in English, National Institute of Technology, Dr. Mini Babu, Associate Professor of English, BJM Government College, Ms. Shaija Shankar, Assistant Professor of English, Stella Maris College. I thank them for sparing their precious time from their busy schedule to grace the occasion and enlighten all of us with their knowledge and presence. Thank you, dignitaries. I take this opportunity to thank our beloved principal, Dr. K. Chitra, for her constant support and encouragement. I would like to thank Dr. Anandi M., Professor and Head, Department of English, for unfaltering support and confidence in us. I extend my gratitude towards my enthusiastic colleagues and today's participants, and to my dear students. Thanks again for making this conference a successful one. Thank you. We request the resource persons and participants to join us for lunch. Lunch will be provided in the garden area, and we'll resume to parallel session sharply at 2 o'clock. Please refer parallel session slot for your further details. Enjoy the meal. Thank you.
Before that, we have excuse me everyone, we have 3 parallel sessions, on offline parallel sessions. First one will be in room number 101, 103 and 102. The parallel offline presentation will be going on. After your lunch, you can move on to these rooms.
Journals and magazines in India and abroad. Her poems have been translated into Malayalam and Tamil. Her collection will resume to parallel session sharply at 2 o'clock. Please refer parallel session slot for your further details. Enjoy the meal. Thank you.
Before that, we have excuse me everyone, we have 3 parallel